Welcome back, Shore Kings. The last chance to play only gives us a month's notice. So these prediction videos give you a 2-week head start. 3 weeks for channel members. The games leaving PlayStation Plus Extra mid-November have been officially announced. Originally there were 6 and we predicted 4 of them, but then 2 more got added. So we got 4 out of 8 right, half of them. The way these prediction videos work is we look at the PlayStation blog on what games came to PlayStation Plus Extra in December of 2024 and also December of 2023, because most games have a year contract or a 2-year contract. So what that means is the games mentioned today, they're not all gonna leave, but it is very likely that the games that will leave will be from this list. So now that you know how it works, let's jump right in. So for all the short attention span kings, here is the quick version. The games that might leave in December are Sonic Frontiers, Forspoken, WRC Generations, Jurassic World Evolution 2, Coffee Talk, and Coffee Talk 2, A Space for the Unbound, Phogs, and Biped. And for PlayStation Premium, we had Sly 2, Band of Thieves, Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves, Jak and Daxter, and Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. From the games that came to the catalog in 2023, a lot of them have already left. The ones still on the service are Salt and Sacrifice and the Shadowrun Trilogy. That includes Shadowrun Returns, Shadowrun Dragonfall, and Shadowrun Hong Kong. And for premium of that year, we had the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2, as well as Thrillville and Thrillville Off the Rails. And this one, Buzz Lightyear Star Command. And also, let's look at 6 months ago. Battlefield 6 is out now, and Battlefield 5 is leaving in November, and Battlefield 1 left in October. So the only conclusion is that Battlefield 2042 is gonna leave as well in December. So that's the short version of what games are going to be potentially leaving in December of 2025. If you enjoyed the quick version and front-loading the content, and that's all the information you needed, just leave a like on your way out for the algo. If you want to stick around the video, we're going to go look at gameplay, the critic scores, and also how long it takes to beat these games. That way you get a sense of which game you should try, because maybe you haven't heard of some of these games. So let's jump into the first one. Sonic Frontiers is what happens when Sega finally lets Sonic breathe. Instead of the usual tight linear levels, you're dropped into a massive, interconnected island filled with ruins, deserts, and forests that blend classic Sonic speed with open world exploration. Gameplay-wise, you're going to be running at breakneck speeds, grinding rails, collecting rings, and boosting through environments. But now, there's a stamina meter. The more you do, the more of the map you unlock. With the ambient soundtrack kicking in, it's surprisingly meditative at times. Combat is the deepest the series has ever been, featuring a skill tree with combos, parries, and even special moves. What makes Frontiers unique is how it merges traditional Sonic action with the open world freedom. It's like Elden Rings meets Tony Hawk. You upgrade Sonic's speed, attack, defense, and ring capacity as you progress. Story-wise, Sonic and his friends get separated after falling through a portal to the Starfall Islands. Sonic must rescue his friends while uncovering the mystery of an ancient civilization. It's not perfect, there's some repetition for sure, but it's the most interesting Sonic game in years. Critics only gave it a 70, but the users loved it with an 8.1. If you focus on the main story, it's about 17 hours, and for the completionist run, you're looking at 27 hours. Forspoken is a weird one because it looks gorgeous, but everyone hates it, critics and users alike. Is it really that bad? It's an open-world action RPG that tries to mix fast, flashy magic combat with parkour movements. And while it's not perfect, it's definitely unique. You play as a New Yorker who gets pulled through a portal into a fantasy world, where she suddenly gains a set of magical powers and a very talkative bracelet. The story follows her trying to find a way home while uncovering what happened to this decaying world, ruled by corrupted sorceresses. There's over 100 spells across 4 elemental magic sets. There's fire, water, electricity, and you know, all the rest. Each spell has its own cooldown, forcing you to constantly switch tactics and chain combos mid-battle. The magic parkour system is the standout here. You just have to hold a button and your character automatically vaults, dashes, and even glides over water. The movement and combat flow together seamlessly as you dodge attacks while repositioning with your magical mobility. So the traversal isn't just getting from point A to point B, it's a core defensive and offensive tool that makes both exploration and combat feel dynamic, and, let's add again, visually spectacular. But why did it get so much hate? Well, I guess you'll have to find out when you play it. The dialogue and pacing got roasted for a reason. It can get a bit cringy, and the open world is full of filler. I found that the main character is not very likable, and the game is constantly interrupted with pop-up hints and the typical Ubisoft UI clutter on the screen. But still, when you're zipping across cliffs and chaining spells in midair, it shows what a great game it could have been. It just needed a tighter script and a smaller world to really shine. It got a terrible rating of 64 and an even worse user score of 4.3. Ouch. As far as runtime goes, you can beat it in 15 hours if you don't get distracted, or up to almost 60 hours if you do get distracted with all the fluff in this game. WRC Generations is a rally sim. There's no flashy open world, no shortcuts, just you, your co-driver, and the dirt. The gameplay is all about precision. There's not much of a story, but the career mode lets you manage a team, tune your car, and climb the ranks like a real rally driver. If you've played the dirt sections in games like Dirt Rally 2 or Gran Turismo 7, this is in that league. Maybe a bit less polished visually, but arguably more authentic. It doesn't really reinvent the wheel, pun intended, but it perfects what the series has done best: pure, demanding rally racing. The physics are brutal in the best way. The gravel feels loose and unpredictable. The snow demands smooth input, and the tarmac rewards precision. There's also dynamic weather here, which means a stage can start dry and then end in a downpour, forcing you to adapt your driving style mid-run. One mistake and you're watching your car tumble down a mountainside in slow motion. It's not for everybody, but it's worth mentioning. It got an okay rating of 74 with a user score of 7.0. As far as runtime goes, this is not a short game. You're looking at about 14 hours for the main and up to 55 hours for a platinum. Jurassic World Evolution 2 is every kid's dinosaur dream. You're not just building a zoo, you're running a prehistoric ecosystem filled with creatures that can eat your guests at any moment, which sounds pretty fun actually. You not only have to make sure the guests are satisfied, but the dinosaurs' welfare is important as well. The gameplay centers on constructing facilities, like everything from the movie, incubating dinosaurs from DNA, managing their needs. Each species has specific requirements: territory size, social group preferences, forest coverage, and even food types. You ignore one of these and your dinosaur might get stressed enough to break out and start eating your guest. And then you have to assign ranger teams to repair the fences and tranquilize the escaped animals. Carnivores fight for territory and establish dominance hierarchies. Herbivores form herds. This will all affect how the dinosaurs live. It makes your park feel more alive and unpredictable. The story, if you want to call it that, takes place after the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom movie. But most of the fun is in the sandbox mode. If you've played Planet Zoo or 2 Point Hospital, this is the same formula but with teeth, literally. It got a pretty decent rating of 78 and users gave it a 7.3. As far as runtime goes, it's about 6 hours if you want to plow through it, or up to 111 hours if you want to get the platinum. Coffee Talk is barely a game, I'm going to be honest with you. You're just going to press X to continue the dialogue. It's a narrative-driven barista simulator set in an alternate 2020 Seattle where humans, elves, orcs, and other fantasy races coexist. And your coffee shop happens to be the only one that's open at night. So it becomes sort of a refuge for people dealing with modern life struggles. The gameplay is very simple. Customers order drinks and you brew coffee, tea, and other beverages by combining basic ingredients. The drinks you serve actually influence the conversations. There's no time pressure or failure states, you're just listening to other people's problems, making their drinks, and occasionally offering subtle advice. It's not about skills or reflexes, it's just about listening, remembering, and connecting. Perfect for a late night unwind. What makes Coffee Talk unique is how it tackles real-world issues like racism, relationship, and career anxiety through this fantasy world lens. For example, there's an elf girl that doesn't approve of her orc boyfriend, and things like that. For me, this was the perfect game to play right after playing an intense or scary game at night. Just play this for 10 or 20 minutes just to wind down before bed. It got a pretty good rating of 76 with a user score of 7.4. As far as runtime goes, this is a certified short game. We're looking at 4.5 hours for the main story and only 8 hours for the platinum. Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly, brings you back to the late night coffee shop, but this time it's 3 years later, and your regulars are facing new challenges while a mysterious new customer brings unsettling changes to the neighborhood. It takes the chill late night cafe vibes of the first game and turns up the warmth. You're back at the coffee shop, but this time there's a fresh cast of characters. Gameplay remains largely the same. You brew drinks by mixing ingredients, listen to customer stories, and influence the outcomes through your choices. The sequel adds new recipes and drinks that change color based on the ingredients, giving you a bit more creative freedom. The visuals are charming as always, and the dialogue is heartfelt. The characters you helped out in the first game are now dealing with the results of those choices. The tone does tend to get a bit darker in here, tackling things like gentrification, corporate exploitation, and the cost of progress. A tech company threatens to buy out the local businesses, and your coffee shop becomes ground zero for the community's resistance. The stakes feel a little bit more personal and urgent this time around. Critics gave this a higher rating of 79, while users scored it only a 7.1. As far as runtime goes, it'll take you about 7 hours to finish the main story, and double that for the completionist run. Alright, another cozy game, or at least it looks like it on the surface. A Space For The Unbound is a beautifully hand-drawn adventure that mixes slice-of-life high school drama with a touch of magic realism. It takes place in the 90s in rural Indonesia, where a high school student learns he has supernatural powers to dive into people's minds. This is like a weird Miyazaki meets Satoshi Kon movie meets Inception. It's a bit more game than Coffee Talk. You actually get to walk around and explore, talk to neighbors, complete side quests, even have fights, and solve puzzles as usual by using space dives. So basically you run into a character, you're like, hey, what's wrong with you? And then you actually dive into their mind to figure out their childhood trauma or whatever it is that is wrong with them. What makes this unique is how it blends everyday teen life with the magical element. The story is heartfelt but bittersweet. It explores mental health, relationship, and growing up in a way that feels genuine and tender. If you like games like Life is Strange, it's the same emotional, story-driven vein. But it's not all a downer. The game balances lighthearted moments, like playing arcade games, with increasingly dark supernatural events. You're gonna be really confused playing this. It's one of those like, who is the protagonist? Am I in a dream right now? Like, you're gonna ask yourself a lot of questions. It's way deeper than you think it is. It reminded me of animes like The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, but Indonesian. It's one of the highest games on the list with a Metacritic score of 85. The users gave it a 7.7. Runtime, you're looking at between 10 to 13 hours. Alright, those are too serious. Let's get silly. From the creators of Cat Dog comes Dog Dog. Phogs is a co-op puzzle platformer where you control a two-headed dog. You'll need to work together to navigate 3 colorful worlds filled with physics-based challenges. You can choose to control both heads, yourself in single player, or one head each in co-op mode. Each head can grab, pull, or stretch objects, so you'll need to coordinate your movements to solve puzzles. The physics are intentionally wobbly and unpredictable, leading to hilarious moments when your dog rope gets tangled or flings wildly through the air. You're constantly getting stuck, launching each other accidentally, or flopping around in ways that feel both frustrating and really funny. It scratches the same itch as It Takes Two or Unravel, but way more goofy and sillier. I'm not even going to bother with the story here. You're a two-headed dog. What more do you want? It got a rating of 78 with a user score of 6.9. As far as runtime goes, you're looking at anywhere between 8 and 12 hours. Biped is another goofy, great co-op game to play with your player 2, and it has a very simple premise. The right analog stick controls your right leg, and the left analog stick controls your left leg. Moving, jumping, and turning quickly become a hilarious challenge. The gameplay centers on mastering like the Q-Wop style leg controls using analog sticks or triggers. You're going to be waddling a lot while trying to solve environmental puzzles that require precise movements and teamwork. It's simple to pick up, but hard not to laugh while playing and screw up. The levels are designed in a really clever way that encourages teamwork in the most chaotic way. Watching your friend faceplant and die while trying to walk just simple stairs never gets old. What makes this unique is how it transforms the movement itself into the puzzle. Just walking feels like an achievement. I know people say Death Stranding is a walking simulator, but this, like, each stick is each leg. Combine that with the need to sync up with your partner perfectly. It's difficult yet satisfying. It's accessible enough for casual players, but still deep enough to challenge coordination skills. It's not about high stakes drama, it's about laughter laughter, coordination, and tiny robots wobbling across big obstacles. It's basically Human Fall Flat, but with harder controls. It got a Metacritic rating of 70 and a user score of 7.4. It's really fun to play this with a friend. As far as runtime goes, you're looking at anywhere between 3 and 10 hours. So that concludes all the games from 2024. But before we jump back to December of 2023, let's look at 6 months ago. Just lost Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1 because Battlefield 6 is currently out. So there's no reason for them not to take away Battlefield 2042. But if you've been a PS Plus member for a while, you already got this as a monthly game. This is probably one of the lowest rated Battlefield games. It kind of got everyone mad. It has the big chaotic multiplayer that the series is known for, up to 100 players at once. But guess what? There is no story mode. There is no single player campaign mode, no war stories. It's just pure multiplayer. The campaign was scrapped. Maybe that's why it got such a bad rating. They even got rid of the class system. They now have these specialists with unique gadgets, which gives more flexibility, but also changes the traditional Battlefield feel. The maps are huge, yes, and the dynamic weather events like tornadoes shake things up, but just something feels missing. Instead of the classics like Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, we're not in World War I or World War II. Instead, we're in the near future. So we got experimental weapon and tech that feels a little bit futuristic, but trying to be grounded. Despite its rocky launch, ongoing updates have improved the experience a little bit, but I don't know. Critics and users alike are not a fan of this one. It had a Metacritic score of only 68 and a terrible user score of 2.4. Again, they removed the 4 story, so I don't know what this 4 hours is about. You're looking at about 95 hours to get a platinum. No, thank you. Salt and Sacrifice is a dark, challenging action RPG. You play as an inquisitor hunting down rogue mages across a dark fantasy world. We're looking at Souls-like combat with Monster Hunter-style boss pursuits. The gameplay is all about tough enemies and careful exploration. You'll dodge, parry, and chain attack with swords, magic, and ranged weapons. Each boss is a puzzle in itself, demanding skill and patience to defeat. Combat is punishing and deliberate, talking about stamina management, dodge rolling, and learning attack patterns. What makes this one unique is the blending of Souls-like difficulty with the hunting game loop. Mages don't just wait for you in boss rooms. They roam dynamically, even fleeing sometimes. So this creates unpredictable encounters. It's basically combining Metroidvania-style exploration with Souls-like combat. Story-wise, it's grim and minimal. You're hunting cursed mages in a dark world where every choice has weight. If you've played Hollow Knight or Dark Souls, this scratches that same action exploration itch. Salt and Sacrifice is not for the faint of heart. It is punishing, yet incredibly satisfying when you actually get to master its combat. Salt and Sacrifice has a rating of 72 and a terrible score from the users of 4.7. As far as runtime goes, it's bad news as well. We're looking at 17 hours or 31 hours. See how that's red? That usually means bad news. And the last 3 games on the list from 2023 are a trilogy, so I'm going to try to tackle them in one go instead of doing 3 separate reviews. Gameplay is turn-based tactical combat mixed with RPG elements. You'll hack systems, cast spells, and take down enemies using a mix of stealth, firepower, and magical tricks. Outside of combat, the dialogue choices and branching storylines shape how your mission unfolds. What makes this unique is the setting itself. It's cyberpunk meets fantasy setting. So you're seeing elves, dragons, and cybernetic street samurai together. It never gets old, and the strategic combat of it all keeps you thinking 2 steps ahead. It has memorable characters, great writing, high-stake missions, and plenty of plot twists. If you liked XCOM's tactical combat or Deus Ex's cyberpunk vibes, this trilogy scratches that same strategic, story-driven itch. It is considered one of the best tactical RPG campaigns ever made. Critics gave these games anywhere from the mid-70s to the high 80s, and users were like 8 plus or minus a few points. Gameplay-wise, you're looking at anywhere from 10 to 20 hours if you just blast through them, ignoring all the side content, or up to 40 hours a game if you want to explore all there is to explore. Anyway, that concludes your prediction video. Again, every game mentioned is not going to leave. That would be a huge list. That's not how these prediction videos work. Instead, this is a list of games where the games leaving come from. Unless we get weird contracts like 7 months or 8 months, which barely happens, the likelihood of games coming out of this list is pretty high. Check out previous prediction videos in this playlist to see how accurate we've been this whole year. These prediction videos usually drop when you get the monthly games, giving you 2-week head start, but if you want an extra week, become a member today. Not only do you get a 3-week advance notice, But you also get access to this spreadsheet, which includes every game that is above 70 on Metacritic, which includes the runtime and rating. If you want to see every game above 80 on Metacritic, you don't have to pay anything. I made a video just for you, but it is over an hour long, so make sure you bookmark it. Until next time, be a friend, and I'll see you again.